Well, welcome everybody to Ignite Humanity Live. I'm your host, Lady JB Owen, and I'm here today on a wonderful Wednesday talking about ways to inspire you to ignite humanity. Yes, that's right. Ignite humanity. I know it's a big word, but I hope it hits you right in the heart on how you too can step into the opportunity to ignite the lives of others, how you can support people in igniting their lives and becoming the greatest versions of them. What we love to do on the show is give you ideas, tips, strategies, and tools that you can use in your life. It starts with you, each and every one of us. It starts with us, and we radiate outward. We talk about ways for you to ignite your life, and that in turn ignites the lives of others. We bring on guests to talk about ways that they are igniting humanity, starting with their ignite moment, that powerful moment in their lives that provoked and sparked a new interest in them, something that they could do to ignite themselves, so that ripple effect expanded and igniting humanity was the end result. All right, well, let's meet our amazing guest today, coming to us from Wales. James Powell, the spirituality coach, stands at the forefront of fostering spirituality and personal growth among elite entrepreneurs through his platform, the Spirituality Podcast. Collaborating with renowned figures like John DeMartini of The Secret, James co-authored a leading international bestseller, Catalyzing Transformative Moments Worldwide. Possessing a remarkable ability to engage and inspire, James has presented a distinguished event, including the International Coach Federation and Brains Magazine, delivering insights and professionalism and appeal. Central to his philosophy, James is the quintessential mentor for high achievers eager to unlock their untapped potential. He's offering a blend of profound insights and strategic guidance, and that, folks, is igniting humanity. All right, let's welcome James to the show. Welcome, welcome.
Hey, JB, thanks for having me. I really appreciate being here. Very excited.
Yeah, we love having you. Love this conversation. Love that you're coming to us from another side of the globe. And you know why we like that is we love to hear different perspectives, different points of view, and different ways for us each to ignite humanity. Tell us a little bit about your zone of genius and the work that you love to do.
Right. So on the topic about igniting inspiration in the heart, and I love that you want to ignite inspiration as well for humanity. It's a good goal.
Isn't it true? We have to inspire each other, and we have to be thinking about humanity. What are some of the ways that people can inspire not just themselves, but one another? I always say that it starts from within, but you're doing a ton of work to help people, to elevate people. What are some ways that we can inspire ourselves?
Right. Well, one of the ways is to externalize what people have conventionally internalized. So inspiration in the heart, as one way we call it intuition. So if you can externalize your intuition and recognize it in your surroundings instead of having to develop your intuitive skill set within you, it becomes a lot easier to recognize the guidance that you might be receiving to make a decision to get to your next level. So there's certain strategies we can go into that whereby you can recognize what your next best move is to get to the next step, even without having to do any training for your intuition. And then the next level up is to develop your intuitive skill set itself, so that you can access actionable intelligence and you make informed decisions with your intuition instead of relying on emotion, because emotion and intuition are not equivalent. There are many things that make you feel good, but are not actually good for you. And then many things that don't feel good, which are good, like discipline, right? Being an entrepreneur. So, there's a struggle sometimes, but the end result that you're aiming for is fantastic. So it's not always about staying in your comfort zone.
Let's talk a little bit about intuition, because some people, well, first of all, they don't always know what their intuition is. They think that it's the inner voice or the gut talking, or maybe it's spirit or source, or maybe they just think they're not actually attuned to their intuition. Can you tell and just explain when intuition is speaking or when we're accessing our intuition?
Yeah, so I call this the flow of intuition. There's 3 steps to it, and we have 3 main centers in our brain. In our body, we actually have 3 brains. We have the cardiac brain, which has about 40,000 neurons, and the cranial brain in the skull has billions of neurons. And then the gut brain has about 100 million neurons. So there's a 3-brain center. Consciousness is processed by these 3 brains, and in that order. In terms of the flow of electrical information between them, the heart sends more information to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. So the heart is predominant. And in terms of the flow of intuition, the intuitive spike of electrical activity, which has been measured with with ECG machines, for example, or electrocardiograph machines for the heart. The spike of intuition sits on about a 2-3 second window before then that information goes to your brain, where you process it with your intellect and you reason and rationalize about it. So it goes from intuition in your heart to intellect in your brain. So if you're already thinking about what you've intuited, you're already on the second step. And that's where most people doubt or second guess themselves. They talk themselves out of what they've received intuitively. But the intellect, you should use it to ask excellent questions so you can better understand the intuition in your heart. And then once you've done that, the information is then sent to your instinct, which is in your gut, right? The gut instinct, the gut brain. And that's most closely related to action. That's where you get the gut impulse to take decisive action. And the contrast between people who typically just follow their heart, they usually mistake it for emotion, and they're always just seeking to feel good. But then high achievers, for example, managers and high-level entrepreneurs, they make a gut decision, but they can't explain why they made that decision. They've just got a track record of years of being able to make gut decisions. But if they take it back a couple of steps into their intellect and their intuition, they'll then be able to make informed decisions because they understand what they've intuited, and they can make even more effective decisions and help others learn how to do the same. Because by just making gut decisions, it's not repeatable. They can't explain it.
Wow, I have to say that is the best explanation I have ever heard. Thank you for mapping that out. I truly appreciate that. And it made me think, of course, when I say, follow my heart, or my heart is invested, or I really want to do what my heart wants versus I think I should. I've been thinking this through. I've been, making a lot of decisions based on logical, assumption. And then, of course, like I just want to follow my gut. I just want to go with what I feel in my gut instincts. We actually use that wording, and I think if we listen to the words we use, then I guess we can tap into which brain that we are utilizing. Is there one that's, I wouldn't say better than the other, but is there a way that we can access all of them so that we can make the best decision? Or are we individuals who are prone to use one over the other?
No, you can 100% train all of it, like develop your intuitive skill set. There's 4 primary characteristics of people: heart-centered, emotion-centered, intellect-centered, and will-centered. So the heart person is all about love and serving. They don't think about themselves or what they get back in return. The emotion person is focused on relationships and that reciprocal relationship. So it's more about give and receive. Those are the kind of motivators. And then you've got the intellect person who focuses on the details, the more educators. And then you have the will person, who's the action person. They just need the bullet point information, not overthinking it, but just bullet points enough to get enough to know what they need to do to get what they want. So the 4 main characteristic types. So depending on that, like the will person would make gut decisions, the intellect person would think about it more, and the heart-centered person would be more intuitive. And so it really depends on your character, but each person can develop the entire flow of intuition. And so one step that I typically train people on is that, and just to clarify, intuition is a sense, right? So like you mentioned, are we talking to something? But we're not talking to our intuition, but intuition is the sensory organ through which we communicate and receive information from a source. So the first step I always recommend is to build up a data set of experience, making smaller decisions that don't have a significant outcome or consequence if you make the right or wrong decision, but you're just chipping away at it all the time. And I do this myself so many times every single day because it's reinforcing that I'm making positive decisions, and I learn from it all the time. So, for example, if you're commuting or you're walking around the street and you have an option, you could go left or right. It's not going to really affect your day too much. So you're going to reach the same destination, but you're just training your intuition. Shall I go right or left here? You ask the question, get the answer, and make an immediate decision without thinking about it. And so that's the binary choice, yes or no. But then later, you want to be able to develop your intuitive skill set to get actionable intelligence, specific information that you've not been exposed to before. I call it new knowledge that is very detailed. And this is how I started my podcast. Once I finished a previous project and asked the question, what should I do next? I received the Spirituality Podcast, Explore Spirituality and Self-Development with High-Achieving Entrepreneurs. So I wrote that down, so you don't need to remember it. Search the domain name .com is available. Cool, I bought that. Nobody else thought of that. But I didn't think about it either. I got it in my intuition. more intelligent. So it's like the ultimate shortcut. And then I started inviting guests on the show, and they all said yes. So,
you know what's so neat about what you said is it's a little bit like practicing a muscle. Like you want to practice listening to your intuition, you want to practice following your instincts, because we've been trained potentially or shown since we were little, don't think that way, or don't do that, or do what mommy says, or just do what I told you. You don't have to know why. We've kind of been dialed out a little bit about following that. And I love your suggestion to just start testing it again, start activating it again, start using it, and then looking at the results and looking at and being willing. And this is a great experience. I could go this way or this way. I'm going to try this way and see what my outcome is, and just be open to the experience. And then you really start to make that reconnection to your intuition. I love that you coach high level entrepreneurs and you share people how they can better use their internal guidance system. Is there a way that you can look at people and assess people's behaviors that can then indicate what system they're accessing? For me, for example, or other people, or people that you meet for the first time?
sure. That's it would depend on the.
I'm just curious. I love a little self-analysis.
That's interesting.
I'm like, okay, when you look at people's outcomes, does it help you assess what they're activating?
Yeah, I haven't been asked that question before, so it's a really good question. And it reminds me of when I was a previous employment when I was doing sales and door to door, and this guy, he took a look at me and said, "No, thanks," and he was closing in the door. So then in that moment, I realized this guy's a will person, because he literally just made a decision, took an action straight away. He didn't try to ask, didn't seek information. He didn't apologize. He didn't try to comfort me. So he's not an emotion person. So he just made a decision and took an action, right? These are great people for hiring and firing people, right? For example, right? So,
right.
So I actually put my foot in the door. I said, right? So I knew how to talk to him straight away. I said, look, if I can save you some money on your bill, it makes sense to change, right? All I need to know is how much you're paying. Just tell me. If I can't save you, I'll go. He told me how much. I said, okay, I can save you this amount. It take 5 minutes. Shall I come in? And he said, yes. Right. And that's literally how long it took me, just as long as it took to talk to you. Right. And then I was in the door, even though he had previously, he was closing the door, but I spoke to him in his language. So it's really helpful to pay attention to how the person communicates to you, and then,
speak their language. That is an important part of igniting humanity, is to meet people where they are, to speak to people in their unique language. And this heart language, mind language, intuition language, it actually is very, very obvious if you really listen, that people speak from the heart, or they speak from the intellect, they speak from their gut instincts. My mom is always doing everything just from gut instincts, gut intuition, gut knowing. She's 47 years in business, woman. She just boom, 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 makes decisions like that. And so when you know someone is like that, and maybe you're potentially different, really listening or knowing their language is a great way to enhance your communication. And absolutely, that will ignite humanity. Whenever we understand another person better, I think we can make a huge impact. Thank you for sharing that. Tell us a little bit about why you do this work and how this prompted and came forth in your life. Oh, we look like we might have froze. That's been happening a little bit. James is on the other side of the globe. And sometimes I always say the satellites are repositioning. And whenever that happens, we sometimes get one of our guests will freeze. We'll take him out of the show for a minute and just see if he can come back and get his internet back. Here he comes. Awesome. Love it. Love it. Thanks for coming back. I just asked the question, can you share a little bit what happened in your life? What was your ignite moment that prompted all of this to transpire and you become the spirituality coach?
Yeah, so like you mentioned about getting trained out of it, for example, in childhood, early childhood, through familial education, social environments growing up, it's just focused mostly on the second step of the flow of intuition, the intellect. Right? Like in school, for example, it's focused on memorization more than even intelligence. So when I went for my exams, I crammed all the information. I studied a few days before my exams and crammed the information in my short-term memory. I got good grades, and then I forgot it later because I knew I wasn't going to need most of that. So it doesn't help. It doesn't train or develop the intuition. So when I was younger, in my single-digit years, I actually missed 2/3 of my early schooling because I had a recurring illness in my as a boy. So then I spent that much more time at home. I read all the books at home, dictionaries, thesaurus. There was like science and biology and physics and everything. So I was already reading secondary school, like high school textbooks and stuff like that when I was a child at home, and that really inspired me. I would have a lot of spiritual experiences also naturally as a child, and then through learning about that through education and then continual training throughout my adolescence and my youth and early adulthood, then I really honed that, and I didn't get trained out of it because I missed most of my schooling, and so I didn't get trained to think like most people. And this is where most people, after they've gone through that, usually at around age 40, and they start to realize maybe there's more to life, and they start to get into spiritual things and to look more inwardly. But I was like that as a young child, and because I was also visibly different, I had some visible differences. The children were always asking me, why are you the way you are? Why do you have this? Why do you look like that? So all these questions were pointing towards me, asking me why I am the way I am. And it was an incredibly painful experience as a child because I had no answers. And so I struggled with that for a long time, made me very shy and very difficult talking to people. But I eventually grew out of that through self-study, through understanding myself. But yeah, so this is what
I love that you share that. Thank you for sharing that. It's so beautiful because I think a lot of people can potentially relate to not fitting in or being ostracized or ridiculed in some way in their younger years. And it does. It creates a big, scar, or it can affect us in many ways and prevent us from being our greatest selves. And I just want to say congratulations and kudos for you for pushing through that. Here you are on an incredible show. We have millions of viewers. You do your podcast constantly. You're always putting yourself out there. You're working with incredible people. And I just want to say thank you for being the hero of your story and using some of the difficulties that you went through to really attune to how you can help others who may be going through the same. So thank you for igniting humanity that way.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there some things that we can do if we want to be high achievers? Is there some tools that you can give us? I know everybody wants to be a little bit better than where they're at. All of us are looking to evolve. Is there some things we can try right after this show to help us move into that higher version of ourselves?
Yeah, sure. I highly recommend to start writing little notes to yourself, recognizing moments of high achievement. It could be from your childhood. It could be when you felt that you haven't fitted in, because most people are not high achievers. They are, and that's okay. People are good at different things at different levels. But then certain people, they don't find their zone of genius until they leave school, because school is typically not about helping children find their zone of genius, and that's why high achievers struggle with that. And so to start writing down your story, like on my website, I call it the journey of high achievers. And so starting from your childhood, going through your adolescence, youth, adulthood, and even going backwards, thinking about yesterday or the previous week. Was there something that happened which exceeded my expectations that I achieved? For example, am I able to achieve the same as most people, but in a shorter period of time, or to a high degree within the same period of time? And that's not comparing yourself with other people's intrinsic human value, but it's comparing your ability to apply yourself under the same conditions as everyone else. And so that's it's an important distinction. You're not, everybody has equal human value, of course.
Right.
So it's about understanding.
You can be a high achiever at all kinds of things. I mean, I go to some of my friends' houses and they have the most amazing Christmas trees and Christmas decorations, and they high achieve when it comes to decorating their house. I've been to friends where they have just knocked it out of the park with an incredible dinner and high achieved at that. So
Right.
I think it's a really good point that high achievement isn't, marks on a grade that we're so used to feeling that that's the signification of high achievement. We can be taking care of ourselves, eating well, speaking well, being in integrity. All of those things really do also indicate your desire for a higher achievement and excellence in your life. And I agree with you, no comparison to anyone else. I often say how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so when you know that the only person is you to, be that litmus test, it's always really a great opportunity for you to up level yourself and be more in the desire to achieve those things. I'd love to know a little bit on your podcast. Have you had a guest that dazzled you and shared something that was like a wow for you that you've remembered and you'd love to share with us? Inspire us with one of your guests?
Yeah. So, I mean, all of them really. So, Dr. John D.
I know it's
Martini.
a tough question. Not that you have to pick out one particular person, but I love the way when we do podcasts, I do my TV show, we have guests and we learn so much from them. We learn as students. We're always students, and we can learn from the people that are around us. Just curious if something stands out that you really have learned, or even sort of collectively learned while doing this podcast.
Yeah. So, for example, Sharon Lecter from Rich Dad Poor Dad, she shared her story of her son passing away, and she almost didn't get back into being an entrepreneur, but her family and her community were supporting her and saying that you've got a lot more to contribute to humanity. And then she also felt her son encouraging her to move forwards. And so she took the next step, and she was invited then to collaborate with the Napoleon Hill Foundation for a series of books. And she became a financial advisor to US presidents. And so many amazing things happened because she didn't give up. And she didn't know what was coming next. And that was an incredibly difficult thing, because to go through that is, I cannot describe that at all.
Agreed. It's a really powerful theme, not to give up. That's a great theme that I think this show also can attest to. Like, we're all going to have ignite moments, and some of those ignite moments are going to be tough and difficult, especially even what James shared, what he went through. But it's about not giving up. I actually saw Sharon Stone a few weeks ago at an event I was at, and she said a great line. It's not how you fall down, it's how you get up that matters. And I thought that was a really great line too, because we're all going to trip and fall. We're all going to have moments that aren't perfect. It's really what we do from it. Can you share some tools or strategies that our viewers can do when you have those moments of difficulty? What can you lean into to help get you through it?
Right. So, for example, taking a data set of experience of making smaller decisions that don't have a particularly big consequential outcome, and then applying that to higher priority decisions where you need to remove emotion from the picture. Okay. So the two differences between this is with the smaller decisions, with a yes or no decision, the binary decisions, that's when you're communicating with your conscience via your intuition, right? Your intuition is your sensory organ. So you're communicating with the conscience, which is typically depicted as a compass, right? North and south, right? That's a yes or no answer that you get in response. But then if you use your intuition to communicate with your, people call it higher self. Okay, I call it the original mind, or God, or it could be one of your beloved ancestors who have passed on in the spirit world, and they love you, so they always want to be helping you. Then there's different sources of information or actionable intelligence that you can get spiritually through your intuition. Then this is communicating with a conscious entity. For example, would be where you acquire actionable intelligence. This is new information you haven't been exposed to before. And so when you do this, then you want to be able to remove emotion from the picture. And this is where a lot of spirituality or intuition coaches make a mistake, because they compare intuition with emotion, but this is not equivalent. And you want to focus on getting that actionable intelligence. And it's not about how you feel about it. So when you can do that, like, for example, I'll give an example. When I experienced cancer 3 times in 3 years, going back from 2011 to 2014, and I went to one of my checkups. Actually, I went there 2 months early because I had a specific intuition that I should go back there. And also signs in my environment, there's a specific list of types of signs to look for. And then, so I knew for sure, because it also was externalized outside me, so I'm not questioning myself that, okay, I know I should go back. And when I went there, they said, I don't need to come back for 2 more months. And I said, I know, but can you check me? They did, and then they confirmed it came back. And then said that if I had waited for my appointment, it would have been too late to treat me and I would have already been dead. right? Because of the speed of progression. And then they told me, right, they said if I don't do chemo, then I would die. But I said no to chemo. In the meeting, I have a letter here from the oncologist. And then he's saying that in the strongest possible terms, I express he'll die if he doesn't do it. And my father came to the appointment with me, and he was crying and trembling and shaking and begging me to follow the oncologist's advice. I told him, be quiet. Right? I destroyed him in that moment because like emotionally, right? He didn't want to hear that because he loves me. But I couldn't let even my loving father's emotion affect my ability to make the best decision I possibly could in that moment.
Wow. Fantastic. I love it when guests share beautiful stories that touch our hearts in so many ways. Folks, I know you can relate to that story in many ways about, when your intuition is speaking to you. And it's true. I was with you there as you were telling the story, James, of your father sitting beside you. And you're right. It was difficult to say that, but you knew what was best for you. I love this conversation, and it will ignite humanity. So, so beautiful. Folks, if you want to know more about what James is up to and how he is igniting the planet, please reach out and check out not only his website, but his phenomenal podcast, the work that he's doing, the people he's talking to, the conversations he's having. James, love it. Thank you so much. And thank you for allowing me to be on your show. I really, really appreciate the work you're doing in the world. Blessings to you.
You too. Thank you so much.
You got it. Thank you. Folks, a great conversation. And if you've never thought about the heart connection, the mind connection, the gut connection, if you haven't thought about how you relay information, trust your intuition, listen to your inner voice, take a look at some of the work that James is doing, and keep watching the show, because we love to talk about spirituality. We love to talk about self. We love to talk about ways that we first can work on ourselves to ignite our own lives and then ignite the lives of others. Well, if you want to know all about what we're up to, please go and check out our website, ignitehumanity.life. We are doing amazing things over there. We have a book. We have our TV show, of course. We're helping individuals and building schools. We're igniting literacy, doing all kinds of amazing things. And we'd love for you to be a part of it. Go check out our website. If you want to be on the show, well, I would love for you to fill out this type form. Click on the link below or go to ignitehumanity.life/share and fill out the type form to tell us what you're doing to ignite humanity, so you could be one of the guests on our show and talk about how you are making a massive impact. The truth is, folks, I think we all have the desire, the willingness, and the responsibility to help one another, to be a good steward, to encourage and support the lives of ourselves and those around us, our family, friends, and neighbors. If you want to ignite humanity, stay tuned every day, Monday to Friday, here on the show. We are here at 11 Mountain, 1 p.m. Eastern, and we're talking about ways to ignite the planet. All right, blessings, and see you tomorrow.
Now, more than ever, we need to come together to connect with one another. We need to feel the truth in who we are and let go of everything that's happened in the past. We need to empower every person on the planet and awaken hearts, enliven souls, come together, laugh, play, rejoice, connect, create, and love. It's time to ignite humanity. We want you to be a part of something that will impact the future for everyone. We want you to tell your story, share your Ignite moment, show people who you truly are. Be a part of igniting humanity and making a difference in the world and all of our futures.